Welcome, folks, to the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. My name is Ernest Page, and this event is the third running of the Simola Virtual Hill Climb, where all the best drivers in the country vie for the top spot in a race where only one winner exists, right at the top of the podium. And this time we'll be doing it today, where the king of the hill gets crowned at this, as mentioned, the third running of this event. Of course, this would not be possible without the Simola Virtual Hill Climb team, Niceness Speed Festival, and of course Monarch, those that put this incredible circuit together. The drivers have been practicing furiously and qualifying furiously to make it through to this special day today. We have defending champions that return. We have drivers who have longed for wins here coming back for more. And of course, we've got some new blood to add to the list of wannabe kings of the hill. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what your current standings look like as we go into the seeding results for the first race of the day. The car the drivers will drive is the BMW M3 E30, and a car that unfortunately was not available in South Africa, but one that many out there, including those E30 Gusheshe fans, will recognize. A tricky car to hustle up the hill. The power is a lot lower than what else we'll be seeing today, but definitely a car that will reward the drivers' good inputs and punish those bad ones. We just saw in practice today one of our drivers going off circuit. And speaking of one of our drivers, the first of our drivers are making their way onto the track. That's Emile de Villiers, your top seed with a 49.014. That is Junior de Villiers, your defending champion, lining up for the start of the virtual Simola Hill Climb. And off he goes in the BMW E30. Down the first section, it's a sweeping left and then into a tight right-hander. Look at that rear suspension cock and buckle under the load there. And that's typical rear-wheel drive, old-school handling, where the rear of the car might have been a little bit softer so that the front could get raised up and more grip could be. Oh, look at that, so tight there. Very close to those tires. And this course is exceptionally technical, difficult, tricky, and demanding, even for the most experienced drivers. And young Emile over here, just 14 years old, our defending champion. I think it hasn't been his birthday since the last time. He's 14 years old, according to his father. And his father will also be taking part later on, as Emile does a sensational run across the finish line there. We wait for his time to come up. Gets a 49.1. Oh my goodness me. That would have put him fourth in seeding. So a 49.1 is all he needed to do to make that count. And Emile de Villiers really immediately goes to the top spot, and it's going to be difficult for him to be pipped. But someone that might just pip him as we wait for the name to come up there, that looks like Jeremy de Villiers in second position. That is Jeremy de Villiers, and Jeremy de Villiers currently out there at the moment. And that is the father of Emile de Villiers, just 1/100th of a second behind, 10/1000ths of a second behind. So that is the difference at the moment. The BMW E30, as mentioned, not the fastest up the hill, topping out at about 150 kilometers an hour, and on the brakes for the sweeping left-hander. They drop down to only 134, so all the way from 150 kilometers an hour up the hill. And the hill is exceptionally steep. I've been up this hill. It's very steep. So you know, these cars with the slightly lower power are going to struggle a little bit under these conditions. Here comes the next car, and Emile de Villiers. Emile de Villiers still in first place, with Jeremy de Villiers still in second, a whole half a second down. And this just shows the class of our defending champion and the amount of pressure that he's able to deal with as we wait for the next car to make their way from the start line. Charles Wilkin, the man that has come so close to winning this twice, now finds himself going up against the new generation of champions. And that, of course, coming from the de Villiers stable. Emile de Villiers currently leading the board. Charles Wilkin And of course, this is only the qualifying round for this first race. So it's not 100% important where Charles ends up, but he's going to want to lay down some sort of gauntlet and make sure that he can at least give the young Thundercats a bit of a run for their money. And look at that line taken all the way wide there. Of course, you are allowed to go wide on that specific line. It's the fastest way around you, but so difficult to line up these corners. So difficult to line up these corners as he goes across the finish line there and slots himself into. We wait for the timing board to update. Charles Wilkin. Charles Wilkin goes into second place, 49.249. 49.249 is Charles Wilkin's second place. 49.249. See Charles Wilkin prep Jeremy de Villiers. And so competitive they were. Peter Galdenaes was fourth in seeding. And Peter Galdenaes doing very well in this specific car. His best result looks like it coming from the E30 is Peter Galdenaes. So if there's any car that he is going to make do with and make the most out of, it's going to be the E30 BMW. A little bit slow through that left-hander there, hugging a tighter line, and you can't make any adjustments with this car. You've absolutely got to be honest. We saw 150 k's an hour up the hill earlier on, and what does Galdenaes get? Tops out at 151, and minimum speed was 135. Galdenaes does the same. So a good slingshot through one of the trickiest sections of the circuit, and Galdenaes gets across the line. We wait for the times to populate. Oh, spins out across the line into the side of the circuit there. One of the cars got any damage, definitely some suspension damage and probably a wheel alignment. But Albert Galdenaes does a 50.4, puts himself 1.3 seconds down on the leader and out of the top three. But as mentioned, Galdenaes was in fourth position overall as one of the crowd favorites. Leon Leroux makes his way onto the start line. Leon Leroux, of course, one of the guys I remember racing the Aston Martin in the Pro Series days, and very fast was Leon Leroux, doing exceptionally well in the various categories. A few podiums here and there as well, and one of our earliest winners, if I'm not mistaken, in the early days of the Pro Series. So Leon Leroux now battling Wilkin, de Villiers, Galdenaes for top spot in the E30 round of this, the virtual Simola Hill Climb, the third running of the virtual Simola Hill Climb. My name is Ernest Page, and this is where all the action is happening. So far, the drivers driving the iconic E30 up the hill. This representative of the classic Friday, where the finals now all taking place together on this Sunday afternoon. Of course, these drivers are all from South Africa and all eligible from South Africa. So you've got to be an SA resident to be eligible for prizes for this competition. This is a proudly South African competition, of course, and many proudly South African drivers. Of course, the Simola Hill Climb, one of our favorite events. And on your screen, I see the seeding results from earlier on. But now we cut back to Seshaba Mashigo in the BMW. Leon Leroux slotting in fifth place, so no surprises there. Mashigo doing well in the Master Drive Rally Star search the other day, getting himself a trophy for his troubles. So Mashigo translating his online skills to the real world of late. Seshaba, of course, taking part in more and more online competitions these days, and now finding himself just getting faster and faster and starting to mix with the bigger guns on the scene. And as far as qualifying goes, not his best in this car. He seems to prefer the GT3 cars. So let's see how he does later on. I think this will be one round that he's going to want to bank as much points as possible. Crosses the line. You can see that when the guys don't cross the line all the way to the left, it's not as ideal. Seshaba goes fourth. He goes fourth though, and pips Galdenaes and Leroux. So there you can see Seshaba on your screen in sixth place in the seedings but now sits in 4th place. And the rest of the standings also shuffled up. Charles Wilkins seating 3rd, now in 2nd position. If you look on the top left of your screen there, you can see all the times and all the positions of the various drivers. Gravenstein, Colin, now lining up. And they're really loading that outside wheel. Colin Gravenstein qualified 6th in the next round and managed to get some solid results through the course of this event. In this case, a little bit further down in 7th, but hopefully the idea is to do better at every turn. You can see the line there a bit tight. You've got to use that whole approach section there on the grass if you want to get the best shot up the hill here. We've seen that at the real world hill climb where Wade van Zimmeren went onto that grassy section, 4-wheel drive, bouncing over the grass as Colin Gravenstein comes to a screeching halt there. And he stays in 7th position with a 50.7. Gravenstein with a 50.7, about to come to your screen. There you go. Look at the top of your screen there. Next up, Michael Koenig. Michael Koenig, a firm favorite on the scene, and someone that's no stranger to real racing and sim racing. He competed in his first race a couple of years ago in Historics. Oh, so close there. And his brother, also very competitive on the sim racing scene, was one of our faster finalists last year. Was the other Koenig, but this time Michael Koenig flying the flag. And yeah, so apologies, this is Michael Koenig. I'm thinking of Steve Koenig. Is Michael Koenig from last year. And last year Michael was talking about only being able to get to the seat on the last minute. This time though, can he go faster? He was talking about not having enough practice last year. And oh, wide across the line goes Michael Koenig. So Michael Koenig, the brother to Steve Koenig. Steve will be joining me in the commentary booth in the coming weeks. And this time, hopefully, Michael got enough practice. We saw him seating a little bit lower down than usual. He's usually much faster than that. And here comes Pretorius now. Pretorius not on your list of seeders, but Neil Pretorius had some issues. And he didn't set a seeding time. So that put him in 9th position, Neil Pretorius. And he now going out there trying to combat some of these exceptionally fast drivers out there. 49.1 so far, the fastest time out there. Charles Wilkins with a 49.2, 49.7 for Jeremy de Villiers. That rounding out the top 3. So the top 3 in the 49-second range going into the finals now. And this, of course, the qualifying for the race, which takes place shortly, folks. The race takes place shortly. And I see we've got some people on the YouTube stream. And Ryan Hill already saying how's it to all. How's it, Ryan? Warren Barkhuizen also in the stream as Pretorius crosses the line. And we wait for that time to come up for Neil Pretorius. Gets a 51.8. And Neil Pretorius now bringing up the top 9 in that white BMW E30. Of course, my name is Ernest Page, folks, and that's the guy you see on screen at the moment. I don't always stand looking like that into the middle distance, but when I do, there's a BMW M2 CS in the background. And that, of course, a car that's quite similar to the E30. Specifically the M3. Some are paying homage to this M3, so fitting then that we start this off with the classic BMW E30 M3 from touring car lore and tin top racing fame. Many years of tin top racing success from that car, inspiring, of course, the South Africa built 333i and 325IS. And now the drivers sitting in their E30s in the pit lane, thanks to Monarch and the Neisner Speed Festival. They're now sitting in the pit lane and waiting for the start of yet another final for the third running of this, the virtual hill climb, the Simola virtual hill climb, more specifically, and based on the real world Simola hill climb, which takes place next week. Many people I know going through. Going to be a fantastic weekend of racing, I'm sure. The Simola hill climb, home to the fastest cars in the country, with the record currently going to Tin Top, or at least a single-seater, but driven by someone that actually competes in Tin Top racing as well. And Andre Mercedes competes in the VW Polo Super Cup, but races the gold GR55 up the hill in a time of 34.9 seconds. Now, this virtual hill climb is mapped after the real one, of course, and the lap times have proven to be very, very similar. So if this car can do a 49.1 up the hill, can you imagine how fast the 34-second car is? But we'll see more of that later on when the drivers go up in some much faster equipment as the day progresses. But for now, they will be driving the BMW E30, an iconic remnant of touring car racing, and time of 49 seconds. But just to give you an idea, the next car will do 41 seconds up there. The car after that, 37. So the cars are going to get slightly faster until we wind our way to what is arguably one of the best cars I've ever driven, the 911 GT3. Which will be the final car in this finals. And in between that, we will be spending some time with the 330p for Ferrari, and of course the Mercedes-AMG GT3 race car. An incredible car. I was lucky enough to see in action at the Kyalami 9 Hour and win the Kyalami 9 Hour, no less. So a car that could potentially win this whole thing. And we're just restarting the server now. Make sure everything is running smoothly, and once we do that, we will be back off and popping and back to action here at the Simola Virtual Hill Climb, powered by Monarch. Visit Knysna and the Knysna Speed Festival. There you see the list of qualifying results, and the qualifying results now populated. Emile de Villiers right on top of that list. Charles Wilkin just jumping in second place there. Jeremy de Villiers bringing up the top three. And Seshaba Mashigo in fourth position, the first of the 52nd runners. And the starting order will be reverse order of that. So Emile de Villiers will start last, with Neil Pretorius starting us off with that 51.8 second seeding run. And that really leads to some exciting racing, because we see the guys get funneled all the way through to the end, with the final fastest driver hopefully setting the fastest time as well. And that's what we're going to be seeing now, as Neil Pretorius, Michael Koenig, Colin Gravenstein lead us off. Once that server gets back up and running, the Simola Hill Climb will be back underway here in the virtual world. And I tell you what's not virtual though, these drivers and how seriously they take this. Of course, previous winner Emile de Villiers back, and Sav Gulteri, the relation to Sav Gulteri, our previous winner, also not here today. Unfortunately not able to make it. We've got one other cancellation. Unfortunately, someone was not able to drive today, but our top three drivers certainly are here right now. And Lorenzo Gulteri, the first winner of the virtual Simola Hill Climb, crowned King of the Hill. And a couple of other race winners in the mix there, as well, as now we see the starting order of the first round of this, the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. Neil Pretorius. Neil Pretorius is going to lead us off. 51.8 seconds. That was his fastest time. 0.8 of a second off Michael Koenig. Okay, so Michael Koenig's brother Steve gave me the update as usual. Have a blast and good luck, he says. His brother is on his rig for the second year, and mom is playing technical at home while he's at the hospital giving tech support to them. Okay. I hope you not too badly under the weather, Stephen. But Michael Koenig flying the Koenig flag. Team Koenig representing today. I do suspect Michael will get faster as the day progresses. Here we go. And this is Pretorius now lining us up. Neil Pretorius, the first of the runners today. We ease into the first race of the day. As you can see, that back left wheel buckling under the pressure, and these cars all set up identically, so no one allowed to make any major changes to the cars. But it really is a case of using all the circuit, as we see Neil not using the full width of the circuit, especially here, this section here. You got to go on the grass there. Touch those two outside wheels on the outside of the dirt. Make the most of the available space on the circuit. Straighten out as much as possible. And go over the line as quickly as you can. Neil logs his first time. 51.8, his best time earlier on. Let's see what he does this time. Gets a 50.3. 50.3, Neil Pretorius. Neil Pretorius shoots to the top with a 50.3. That's 1.5 seconds faster than he did in the qualifying. And Neil Pretorius coming out of nowhere, the wild card, and with a 50.3, that puts him pretty far up the standings, especially with a one-hit shootout like this. I mean, especially when you're looking at, you get one chance to do it, a one and done round, it puts the pressure on. And Neil Pretorius starting us off and starting that pressure cooker off nicely as Michael Koenig heads out now. Neil Pretorius to beat. Michael Koenig in second place, the second of our starters. Runs very wide there, close to the tires. Want to make sure you stay away from those tires as far as possible from those tires. As Michael Koenig also very tight there. Very tight. Maybe driving a left-hand drive car might not be able to line it properly. Very tight, or very wide from the edge of the circuit, but tight on the line there. And again, not running all the way. And we'll see the faster drivers using that whole edge of the circuit to get those lines as fast as possible. And that's really what hill climb is all about, is maximizing the width and breadth of the circuit. Michael Koenig's got to beat 50.3, and Neil Pretorius now currently sitting pretty as Koenig gets a 50.5. 50.5 for Koenig, a solid time for him as well. A 50.5 for Michael Koenig. Very solid times, and the times now improving as it looks like the drivers maybe just peaking where they can now. And next up is Colin Gravenstein. Colin Gravenstein making his way down the first sweeping section into the right-hander. You've got to watch out for this first exit over there. Not too close to the curbs, not too close to those tires. We haven't seen the drivers hit the tires yet, but unfortunately, due to the physics of the game, they are immovable, and when drivers hit them, well, oh, I spoke too soon. And the first of our spin-offs, Colin Gravenstein, makes a mistake, catches it though. But with hill climb driving, one tiny mistake and you are seconds off the pace. I mean, just look at that. We saw that mistake. You get one chance, and that's what makes it so intense. Colin Gravenstein gets across the line, but unfortunately that is going to cost him, and he gets a 53.2. Colin Gravenstein with a 53.2. A disappointing turn of events for him there, as Leon Leroux now makes his way through in fourth place. But this is fourth from behind, so by all accounts, Pretorius should be last at this stage. But he's made his way all the way to the top. Ravenstein should be a little bit further up the order, but he made a mistake. Koenig with a solid performance. And what can Leroux do now? Slightly different to the GT3 cars he raced a few seasons ago. But Leroux very seasoned. Let's see how he does here now. Leon Leroux leaning onto that car. Leaning onto that car. And I mean, you've got to lean on that car, don't you? You've got to make sure that you get as much and extract as much of that power out. Leon Leroux gets across the line, but what will the timetable say? Gets a 50.7. Leon Leroux gets a 50.7 and slots into third. So the top three at the moment very, very closely matched. The top three very, very closely matched. But now, Peter Geldenhuys out on the circuit, and Peter Geldenhuys on the limit already. You can see he's pushing very hard there. Takes a slightly different line now up the hill. Some of the guys let the car stay wide to get more speed. Some of the guys bring the car in tighter to shorten the distance. It's really a horses for courses type of situation. But there can be only one king of the hill. And Peter Geldenhuys is trying to make sure that he is that king. Top of the hill now. 150 kilometers an hour as mentioned. Top speed. 135 minimum. Let's see, he gets a 136 minimum. Geldenhuys gets a 136 minimum speed there. Let's see how he does now as he heads towards the finish line. This looks like a solid run. Geldenhuys across the line. Wait for the times. Geldenhuys gets... Oh, Geldenhuys goes to the top. Geldenhuys goes to the top with a 50.2. Geldenhuys goes to the top with a 50.285. Geldenhuys gets a 50.285, taking the top spot. And this is what we've come to expect from the virtual Simola hill climb. The drivers usurping each other one after the next, pipping one another to the finish line. And Geldenhuys no different as he does the same. And Geldenhuys now standing atop the leaderboards as Seshaba Mashigo tries to do something about it. Seshaba Mashigo, as mentioned, took part in his first real event of late. Starting to win some silverware there as well. And also, as mentioned, improving big time when it comes to sim racing. Seshaba now in the BMW E30. Showing us how it's done up the hill. The final few sections now. And it's all about keeping this car pinned without any mistakes. Seshaba gets across the line. He's got to beat 50.2 to take top spot. Geldenhuys, followed by Pretorius, then Koenig. All within the 50-second range. 50.5, the slowest of the three. Where will Seshaba end up? We patiently wait for the time to come up. No time as yet. And Mashigo... Oh, Mashigo gets the time, goes to the top. 50.170. Mashigo gets a 50.170. And that takes him to the top spot so far as Jeremy de Villiers now makes his way out. 50.170. We've seen every single driver before go faster and faster still. And now we start to mess with the big boys. Jeremy de Villiers right up there in the standings. One of the fastest drivers we've seen so far. And Jeremy de Villiers really putting down the gauntlet there over his son Emile de Villiers. As Jeremy de Villiers now trying his hand first. We've still got Wilken and Emile to come as well. Emil, our defending champion. Charles, the people's champion, if you will. Someone that has been mixing it up with the top 3 of the Simola Hill Climb. Some would say top 2 almost all the time. As the first of the De Villiers clan crosses the finish line. No major incidents as yet to speak of. So far, but I do think this car is a little bit slower than the others. So when the speed picks up, De Villiers goes fastest, 49.6. And that just shows you the difference between the top drivers. De Villiers gets a 49.6 faster than his time earlier on. So the class of these top drivers really showing, and each of these drivers going faster and faster as they make their way through the rankings. This is Charles Wilkin. Charles Wilkin always coming close to winning this, having led this so many times. Charles Wilkin, a leader of this event so many times. And here he comes. And look at that wide line Charles takes over there. Hits the bump, turns it in. Oh, a little bit wide there, but how's that going to affect the exit? So far, so good. No issues from Charles Wilkin, keeping a cool head. And across the line goes Wilkin. 49.6 to beat. It's got to beat 49.6. Can he do it? Charles Wilkin gets a 49.2. Charles Wilkin gets a 49.2. And so far, the gap growing between him and De Villiers. Oh, as the young Emil comes out sideways from the pit lane. Stewards are going to wave the proverbial finger there, I'm sure. And warming up those tires does Jeremy De Villiers. Emil De Villiers, I apologize. Emil De Villiers now on the start line. Junior De Villiers. Getting confused with the names. I'm just going to call them Junior De Villiers. Senior De Villiers. Here comes Junior De Villiers. On board now with the fastest man in this car. For the most part, he's proven to be one of the quickest. And just look at these lines. Silky smooth, so close to the tires. Left-hand drive, so you can't really see where the right-hand side of the car is. Doesn't run very wide on the left, and now up the hill, flat out now. 150 kilometers an hour. Fourth gear. Emil De Villiers keeps it pinned. 158 onto the braking zone, hard turn in. Very hard turning, slight adjustment there, but keeps it there. And so fast is young Emil De Villiers. An incredible lap so far from him. Goes all the way wide, wait for the bump. There's the bump, turns it in. And absolutely keeps it pinned here. Downshifts. His speed through there is incredible. This is going to be a fast one, folks. If he can keep it together, Emil De Villiers will see himself one of the faster drivers. Across the line goes De Villiers. And hard on the brakes. Emil De Villiers gets a time of 49.2. 49.271. Beat Charles Wilkin by 2 1,000ths of a second. 2 1,000ths of a second between Charles Wilkin and Emil De Villiers. And Charles Wilkin gets put down to second, with Emil De Villiers doing a spectacular run. On board there, we saw with him, and Emil De Villiers pulls it off and gets the first win of the day as we go to the next server. And just waiting for this server reboot, log into the next server for the next set of cars. But there you have it, folks. There you have it. Emil De Villiers snatches the position in spectacular fashion right at the end. And just incredible driving there from the 14-year-old to have that type of BMT. I think it's definitely an age thing. I mean, and we've got the two opposite ends of the spectrum separated by 2 1,000ths of a second, nothing in it. Charles Wilkin with a 49.273, Emil with a 49.271. 49.6, Jeremy De Villiers in third place. Jeremy conceding that young Emil is definitely a talent to behold. And if he's able to get to the top spot here, well then, He could be one of the most talented young drivers we've got in the country at the moment. And if we can translate that into more sim racing wins, who knows? But the future is bright for young Jeremy, that's for sure. As young Emil, I apologize. That's for sure. As Emil de Villiers makes his way to the top spot there, 49.271, gets 12 points for his trouble, 12 points for a couple of minutes work, and Charles Wilkin gets 10 points. So 2 1,000ths of a second equals 2 whole points, and we're going to be wondering if those points are going to come in handy later on, folks. This is round 1 of 4 as we make our way through the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. My name is Ernest Page, and this event powered by Monarch and the Knysna Speed Festival. Of course, visit Knysna as well, and if you're in the area, do feel free to visit Knysna, because next week will be the actual Simola Hill Climb, where the best in the country will take each other on. Having spoken to a couple of competitors so far, it is going to be an absolute cracker of an event. As we wait for the next server to come up, drivers will now be hopping out of the E30 BMWs and into something a little bit faster, a little bit older, but certainly not lacking in the looks department. And that car will be revealed very shortly, so stay tuned, folks, for the next round as we wait for the screen to load. This car that we will be taking around the circuit, the development started in 1964, where the first 330 made its debut. And this one over here, one of the faster versions and one of the most iconic versions, the 330 P4, which came about in 1966, 67, and it won the 1,000-kilometer Monza race in 66 and the same race in 1967 as well. A spectacular looking car, one of Italy's finest, and it was one of 3 works cars built in 1966, and only one was built in Spider 4. So just incredible. So in 1966 the P3 won, 1964 the P4 won, and the P4 is the version of the car that these drivers will be taking around today. As you see the seeding results on your screen there, that's Emil de Villiers right at the top in the Ferrari 330 P4, Jeremy de Villiers in second place, Charles Wilkin in third, but absolutely nothing in it. Seshaba in fourth position, Leon Leroux in fifth, and now the drivers make their way out again in first place order. So first, second, third, fourth will go out now, get their qualifying times, and then we'll head out in reverse order for the second round of this finals event here at the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. The drivers now getting their engine started. This car's got a V12 engine. Only 4 of these cars were ever made. So an incredible car as the wheels spin off the line for Emil de Villiers there. Not shy to spin it up. Oh my goodness, look at the pace there. It bounces over the bump and unsettles the car a little bit there. You can see the suspension bottoming out there. And Emil de Villiers a little bit too aggressive maybe. But maybe that's what's needed. Hard on the brakes. This car is so fast. So difficult to drive all over the place. Emil de Villiers gets it sideways. Manages to catch the slide. No issues. Downshifts it there. And now has to make his way up the hill. Really muscling this car around the circuit. Oh, So close to the tire wall, to the finish line wall with a 42.299. And so close to that wall over there was Emil. 42.299. And we've got the championship standings so far. Emil de Villiers leading us off with 12 points. Charles with 10. And even though Emil did a 42.299, still quite a ways off his best of the 41.44. Jeremy de Villiers now. And looks like Emil's got quite an advantage over the others from seeding. Big advantage over the others from seeding. And a much more composed first complex section there from Jeremy de Villiers. Much less jumping and bucking, but much smoother. Slightly looks to be a bit slower through here as well. Was Emil pushing a little bit hard in the second half of the circuit, trying to make up a little bit, not grabbing as much grass there was Jeremy de Villiers. Senior, of course, of the two. And across the line goes de Villiers. 43.721. Much more gingerly paced there, and I think some tactics are afoot now, as drivers maybe want to make their way further down the standings rather. 1.5 seconds off his best time. I've got to say though, having tried to qualify for this last year on the sidelines while watching, I've got to say and I did make, I've got the weather here. I did make 8th position for one of the seedings weather, but I tell you what, it's difficult to get a lap on you more than once. It's so difficult to get a lap on you more than once. You absolutely have to be on it every single time. It's one thing to get one hot lap, but to get one over and over and over, and these guys have separated themselves, not able to do. A mistake there from Charles Wilkin. A big correction there from Charles Wilkin. These guys have separated themselves from the pack, but look at how wide Charles going there. Oh, slip and sliding the car into the complex section at the top of the hill. And Charles Wilkin all over the place with this car, and this car is very floaty. I've seeded with this car before. It's very, very floaty on the circuit. And Charles Wilkin waiting for his time to come up there. Goes in second place also with a 43.0. And just shows you Emil, even on a bad day, still gets up ahead. Even on a bad run, I mean, that is just unbelievable. Emil de Villiers is now Mashigo Seshaba on his way up the hill. But first you gotta go down. Now the power gets put to the floor. The pedal to the floor. Power, all the V12s, all V12 cylinders being used, all 12 cylinders being used to the absolute maximum. Running it all the way up to 8,100 RPM. Top speed up the hill here. Touched 180 k's an hour there. Once again, 7,000 RPM. And now the final section. This is where you want to thread it as easily, as gingerly as possible. Mashigo across the line in the number 10 car. Number 20 car, apologize. Mashigo, the number 20 car, gets a 43.3. Puts him in third place. But so far, still behind de Villiers and Wilkin. Jeremy de Villiers bringing up number 4 in the number 6 car as the number 21. As the number 21, Leon Leroux. As the number 21, Leon Leroux lines up. Leon Leroux makes his way. Oh, he hits the bump as well, and I think those drivers have to dodge that bump. I think they have to dodge that bump because that bump seems to be causing a little bit of problems there. It's the front left tire all the way in, and what happens is the suspension actually hits the bottom of its sort of distance where it can travel, and that's called bottoming out. So the suspension can't travel any further, and that actually pushes the front of the car up again, which means you lose weight on the wheel, and that's the loaded wheel, which is not good. So, see, gets it a bit sideways there, does Leroux. So I don't think these drivers want to hit that first corner. We'll watch the next one and let's see what happens. As Leon Leroux gets 4th place for his trouble, but De Villiers is now slipping down to 5th. Mashigo still in 2nd place with Charles Wilkin. Mashigo in 3rd place, still in 3rd place with Charles Wilkin in 2nd, and Emile De Villiers in 1st place. And look at the standings after round 1. The same thing can be said for the standings as we go to Colin Gravenstein now. Colin Gravenstein, 43.7 to beat. And off he goes. Look at the wheels, but now watch the front left as the E30 makes its way through the first corner. Bang! Hits that bump, not quite as hard, but that bump certainly upsets the car. And if you were tuning the car, you'd tune that out. You'd make sure that you can ride that bump, or if it's on the line, you know, maybe stiffen up that front left a little bit. You know, maybe just play with the spring rates there a little bit, but it can't reach maximum travel, because if it does, you lose grip. But these cars are not allowed to be set up. These drivers have to drive these cars as is, which makes it difficult. And as the saying goes, it's the same for everyone. So you just got to figure it out. And that's exactly what these guys are trying to do here. Colin Gravenstein trying to figure things out here in the 23. Gets a 43.9 and holds on to 6th position, as Geldenhuys and Koenig still need to make their way out. Here comes Michael Koenig now. Here comes Michael Koenig. Down the hill. Oh, and there you go. And that's what happened. Michael Koenig hits the bump and loses it completely. He has to slam on the brakes, and it doesn't look like it was a big moment, but I think to err on the side of caution there, he wanted to make sure that at least he got a clean run up the hill and not spun the car out or had any sort of major incident. And Koenig just not on his usual pace. Koenig not on his usual pace. So let's see. Ooh, that was a bit too close there. I think Stephen Koenig might be playing team manager now. Is going to be having some words there. This is a priceless piece of motorsport history. Please bring it across the line safely. Michael Koenig's time's yet to come up. And it looks like later on the times take a little bit longer to populate. Or Koenig needs to leave. Yeah, Koenig needs to leave the lobby. He needs to go to the pit. I apologize. He needs to go to the pit. Koenig needs to go to the pit. And last year we saw in the championship standings, Koenig was right up there with Charles Wilkin. Classic Friday competition, doing exceptionally well. See a couple of returning names. Leon Leroux also back from last year. Charles Wilkin, of course. But this year, it sees Geldenhuys over here joining us. And Peter Geldenhuys now making his way up. Got to manage the ounce of that suspension. They really do. Oh, hits the wall. Hits the wall. There's a mistake there. There's a big mistake from Geldenhuys. Geldenhuys unfortunately has an incident. Geldenhuys has an incident. And can we get a replay of that by any chance? No replays, unfortunately. Geldenhuys makes a big mistake. Geldenhuys with a big mistake, and another one. Oh my goodness me. Geldenhuys. Oh no. So Geldenhuys with the biggest mistakes of the day. It goes down to 49 seconds. Oh no. Geldenhuys, Peter Geldenhuys. And next up, we've got Neil Pretorius now. Michael Koenig with a 44. Caldenes with a 49. So Koenig's time is up now. And here comes Pretorius. Here comes Pretorius now. And a little bit slow there. So the times only come up when the drivers pit. So the drivers will need to pit to make sure that the times come up. And trying to get another look myself here as to what exactly happened with earlier on with Caldenes. As Pretorius goes across. Oh, he just touched the tire there. He just touched the tire coming through as Pretorius goes 7th. And Caldenes just touched those tires. And it was over at that stage. He made another mistake later on, but he just clipped the tire. And that just shows how easily things can go wrong. And touched the finish line as well there, earning him some big damage on that car over there. Big damage, and Caldenes also now lost. But that was just the qualifying. The drivers now will go to the main event of the day, where they will race in the second of 4 rounds in this car, the 330 P4. Frankly, stunning car. Voted one of those beautiful race cars ever made. And I can see why. I think we can all see why. The P4 built at the height of the Ferrari and Ford rivalry. It didn't manage to outshine the GT40s, but in its own right was an absolute legendary car. Gearbox on this car was replaced, and the V12 engine was capable of generating 335 kilowatts. The bodywork was very similar to the P3, but the chassis was overall improved, and just the looks of the car were just incredible. They did 560 test laps at Daytona before the 24-hour race. I mean, that was just amazing. 560 test laps, but I'm sure the car didn't do much more after that. But as you can see on the top of your screen there, you see the qualifying results. Emile de Villiers outshines once again, as Charles Wilkin just behind. Look at that gap difference there, this time slightly bigger. So Shaba Mashiga in 3rd position, Leon Leroux in 4th, Jeremy de Villiers in 5th place. So Leon Leroux in it with a fight now. Colin Gravenstein in 6th position with Neil Pretorius in 7th. Michael Koenig in 8th. And Peter Caldenes with that clipping of the tires, getting forced down to 9th position. So, here we go. Peter Caldenes up first. Peter Caldenes up first. And here we go. In the 330 P4. Oh, lots of wheel spin off the line there. Lots of wheel spin off the line, and now coming towards the bumpy section, hits the bump and holds it in tight. I think he might have slowed down ever so slightly there, but managed to keep his composure up the hill, past the pole. Here he comes now for the right-hander, runs a very tight, shallow line there, and pays for it on the exit. Have to rotate the car ever so slightly more. Here comes the P4 now. Number 3 car, Caldenace. And across the line goes Caldenace. Provisional first place, slams on the brakes there. 43.621. 43.621. And just look at the starting order now. As Peter Caldenace gets a solid time this time, much better than his previous run. That 6.21 would have put him in 4th position. So Peter Caldenace is not going to be happy with that. And here he comes in the Daytona winning 330. This looks like the Spider version. It is. So this is the Daytona winning car. Oops. Bit of a wobble there. But keeps it pinned down, does Michael Koenig. Michael Koenig with a big turn of speed up the hill there. Big turn of speed up the hill. It's absolutely on it, pushing very hard now. All or nothing. And that's what it's got to be. Michael Koenig running right up the top of the field. And oh no! Oh no! Michael Koenig touches the same tire that we saw Caldenace touch earlier on. But he manages to collect both of them. Some damage to the front of that priceless car. The Daytona 330 limping back to the pits now. With a little bit of nose cone damage. He's going to try and finish. And finishes with damage. But Michael Koenig not going to be happy with that. This is the one that counted. Oh no. This is the one that counted. And Michael Koenig, unfortunately, pushing a little bit too hard there. Gets a 53-second run. And the 330P4 Spider, that is one Daytona, crosses the line with some damage. But here comes another one. We got a paddock full of these. If only it were like this in real life. Looking over at Weza, my producer. Couple of 330s parked in the paddock. Crash one, he just start the other one. Much more gingerly over the bump does Neil Pretorius go. All the way up to 8,100 RPM. You can see the RPM counter on the bottom right of his screen over there. Shifts down now. 3rd gear. Very tall gears on these old Lamar cars. They obviously needed to do big top speeds down the Mulsanne straight. So I was just talking to Cyril from over the other day. Some of these older cars could do 400 k's an hour. Then Neil Pretorius gets it sideways. And Neil Pretorius gets it very floaty, shall we say. Not wobbly. But the car did float a little bit across the line. There's Pretorius, goes to the pits and gets 2nd place. Pretorius goes into 2nd position. As Colin Gravenstein now starts to make his way through. Pretorius now in 2nd position. You can see it in the top left of your screen there. And Sashaba getting a shout out there from Elric Ensler in the YouTube live stream. Come on, Sashaba, he says. And Sashaba certainly coming on. Very fast pace from him all throughout the day today. So let's see how he does. As now Colin Gravenstein makes his way through. Very wide line there from Colin Gravenstein. Enslen racing for Jensen Button's esports team these days. Hey Enslen? That's amazing. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. South Africa really does have some of the best talent in the world when it comes to sim racing. And I'm sure Seshaba and Enslen working together. As Gravenstein crosses the line. And he's got to get out of the off the circuit into the pits so we can get that time of his. And there it is. Gravenstein with a 42.954. Gets to provisional pole. Boom. Over the bump. And these bumps are all laser etched into the circuit. These circuits all designed with ultimate precision. So these guys definitely driving one of the most realistic versions of the circuit you can find. Even the elevation changes. So close there. Goes De Villiers. Senior De Villiers across the line. Senior De Villiers gets a time of 43.222. Puts him in second place just behind Gravenstein. Gravenstein going to be happy with this. Gravenstein's going to be very happy with this. As now, once again, Leon Leroux makes his way through. Oh, bouncing there, the number 20 car. But as mentioned, Leon Leroux found lots and lots of success here before. So I'll be keen to see how he does today. Oh, but slow through that section there. And here goes Leon Leroux across towards the finish line in the final sector. So difficult to drive these cars. The guys really have to gingerly make their way across the finish line there. Back to the pits. He will go. And then we'll get that time for Leon Leroux. Goes up to fourth. 43.754 for Leroux. $43.754 for Leroux. As we wait for the next car to line up. Carl Wilkin coming later on. Classic Friday last year, Carl managed to do the first 4 rounds, winning all 4 of the first 4 rounds, totaling score 400 points, maximum points haul for the Classic Car Friday first 4 rounds. So Charles Wilkin able to absolutely dominate when it calls for. But is he going to be able to do this again? Is he going to be able to do it again today? He's going to be able to have things his way. As says Shaba Mashigo, makes his way through, hits the bump and has to pause there on the throttle. You can hear the pause. And we're going to go on board with one of the cars soon as well. You can see what it's like in the 330 as Mashigo makes his way up the hill. And as you can see, signboards on this hill. This is a public road open to the public for 360 odd days of the year. And then for one weekend only, it becomes the Simola Hill Climb. And this, of course, is the virtual running of this event as Mashigo crosses the line there. So Shaba Mashigo gets 4th place for his trouble, 43.634. And this, as mentioned, is the actual race taking place now. These drivers are trying to see who is the fastest at this stage. Currently, Gravenstein leads us off with a 42.954. De Villiers in second place, but I do suspect the next 2 drivers will go faster. Charles Wilkin gets the visor ready to go. This is the run that's going. He's currently in second position. He's going to want to beat De Villiers, junior and senior. Oh, so close to the curb there. Very close. Charles Wilkin not holding back at all this time, it seems. Charles Wilkin running super wide there. Very wide across to the outside of the circuit. Charles Wilkin not holding back. He's in the zone. Comes up to the braking zone. Takes a slightly tighter line there. Maybe the Ferrari needs to take a V line over there. But Charles Wilkin plotting his way up the circuit gingerly. Not too wild, I've got to say, but this time running a little bit tight there as well. Charles Wilkin now starting to maybe pull back a little bit, but the first couple of corners were very much on the edge. Oh, that was close to the tire. That was so close to the tire. Charles Wilkin across the line. Charles Wilkin across the line. And Charles Wilkin slams on the brakes, skids to a halt, and puts himself in. Charles Wilkin goes, oh no, third position for Charles Wilkin, a 43.4. And unbelievable stuff. Charles Wilkin only manages a 43.4. Wow. So now what does this mean for Emile de Villiers, who we now get on board with? And we're going to cut to him shortly on the onboard screen. As there you go. That's what it looks like on the inside of a right-hand drive. 8,100 RPM. Slams the limiter. And he's so close to the edge. Turns it in. Understeer there over the bump. Oh! Has to correct. Has to correct. And he was pushing big understeer through there. Big power car. Emile de Villiers now only has to beat Charles Wilkin. Gets a bit sideways there. And now riding the back of the car. Coasting and letting it. That last slide. Letting the car drift a little bit wide there. Now coming up to the final section. He's running to the left. Not too wide. I do suspect the guys are pushing slightly different lines here today than they were in the ultimate lap time, but it all depends on the car and you'll be able to hold on to it. He's so close to the edge there, so close to the edge on the absolute limit, so close to the limit. He always touches the tires and goes first and goes into first position. Does Emile de Villiers. Emile de Villiers goes into the top spot and takes it with a 42.7. Snatches it from Gravenstein. Gravenstein, though, doing very well to get himself into second position there. I mean, I think that's the untold story of this round here. Gravenstein gets second position and now suddenly in the mix with all the boys, as Gravenstein now inserts himself into the conversation. And earlier on we saw de Villiers getting a 49.2 with the BMW. Gravenstein somewhere down the bottom with a 53.2. Now all of a sudden showing the boys how it's done. And now the team's going to be getting the other server ready. And I'm going to try and organize some more honey tea from somewhere as I wait for Gage to appear somewhere here at the 80K Arena where we're filming. This, of course, event is powered by Simola Virtual Hill Climb and the team, Neisner Speed Festival, Monarch, and of course, visit Neisner because, well, frankly, it's awesome. If you haven't visited yet, you should probably check it out. If you are there next week, it's the Simola Hill Climb. And also, plenty classic car shows happening out that side. And if you just want to go chill, it's pretty cool to do that too. So, my name is Ernest Page, and as you can see, at Performance with Page on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And that, folks, is my official shameless plug. This is the Simola Virtual Hill Climb, and we're just waiting for those results to come up on screen. Emile de Villiers starting to lay claim as those were the results for race number 2. Another 12 points haul for Emile de Villiers. Colin Gravenstein with 10 points in the bag. Jeremy de Villiers gets himself third place. And as per race 1, does the same, does Jeremy de Villiers. Charles Wilkin, though, getting second place for the previous race, gets himself a fourth place now. Peter Gelden is back in fifth position. Seshaba was fourth early on, now in sixth place. Leon Leroux early on gets himself an eighth position, now gets seventh, and Gravenstein was 53 seconds early on and in ninth place. Somehow manages to find himself in second position. What a turn of events from Gravenstein. I can see some air punching happening at the Gravenstein home. sure some jubilation at the Gravenstein home today. And fantastic performance from him. And that onboard was pretty special, I've got to say. We've got to do at least one run with the top 3 guys, I think, on board, just to see what it's like. So let's maybe go with Charles Wilkin next time, if we can. Yeah, let's go with Charles Wilkin next time, if we can. And just like that, my tea appears. All I got to do now is add some honey. And then we can go racing again, folks. Two of the 4 runs complete. So we are halfway through this daytime championship, where drivers compete to see who is the fastest over 4 courses at the virtual Simola hill climb. This event, of course, powered by Monarch and the Neisner Speed Festival. It is an incredible event, and one that is a highlight of the calendar for many of the sim races, because this is the type of event that people like Charles Wilkin absolutely love. The style of event suits his driving style, him being a rally driver, someone with a rally driving background, Charles Wilkin. But there you have it, folks. These are the seeding times as we wait for the overall championship standings. These are the seeding times for the next car. And the next car is no stranger to speed, because this is the same car that won the Kyalami 9-hour, the Mercedes-AMG GT3. The GT3 spec, big Mercedes coupe. And on the outside, it looks just like the road car, but on the inside, there's lots of under-the-skin changes, and the sound of this car is just incredible. And here we go, folks. This is round 3. GT3 makes its way down. A very big, wide car. And the first driver, Emile de Villiers, managing to tame the beasts so far today. Can he do the same with the AMG GT3? Up the hill now. Flames coming out the side. Flames coming. Oh no! That's wide. That's wide. That's very wide. And luckily manages to hold it together. Somehow manages to hold it together. Doesn't touch anything. I thought that for sure was going to be an incident there. Manages to keep things tidy. And across the line goes the young Emile de Villiers. And Emile de Villiers now puts himself in first place so far provisionally. But look at those standings over there. Those are the point standings for this event so far. Emile de Villiers in first place, but a joint 3rd place for Jeremy de Villiers and Colin Gravenstein. That is one of the conversations that I'm sure the de Villiers clan is having at home now. How do we figure out this problem called Colin Gravenstein? Charles Wilkin in 2nd position, 17 points, 7 points behind the leaders. But just look at that, the top 6 drivers still with anything in it. Top 6 drivers still with everything in it as we wait for the next car to pull away. This is Jeremy de Villiers now. As I mentioned, he's got a bit of a pollen problem at the moment. Off he goes, AMG colors. And again, close to the side of the circuit, that splitter, absolutely close to the side of the circuit there. Down the gears, the brakes, blazing red, blazing crimson. Flames coming out the side of the car, over the bump, into the right-hander. Downforce now the talk of the town. These drivers will now be talking about how much downforce helps them carry speed through the top section here. And you can look at those times just tumbling down. 39 though for de Villiers, senior, just over 0.2 of a second behind junior. And 39.0, very solid time either way. And 2 names from the same household, both in the finals. It's very unusual to see that. So clearly two very talented wheelmen there in the De Villiers house. Here we go. Here comes Seshaba. Seshaba up the hill. Seshaba getting, as we mentioned earlier, on some support from Elric Enslan. Ulti, as he's known. And Seshaba gets a bit of a wiggle there. So difficult to tell if it's going to make any difference. This course is so short, so tricky. And each car presents its own sort of problems, its own solutions, and its own puzzle to solve for every corner by every driver. And this, of course, now is Seshaba Mashigo. Currently provisional third, but let's see how he does. Yes, gets third place with a 40.0. A little bit off the pace there, so I don't think he's going to be too happy with that one, as the next driver lines it up. Here we go, on board now with Charles Wilkin. Just look at the difference of the interior here. Peter Geldenes on the stream says, "Oh my word, hi guys, so tricky these cars, but great fun though." So the car's very tricky to drive. This one won't be as tricky, but certainly its own type of driving style. Notice the bump there, the car actually absorbs it. A little bit of understeer there as he runs wide. Charles Wilkin up the hill now, tries to keep it smooth. Tries to keep it very smooth. A little bit of vibration comes when that big engine up front hits top of fourth gear. The limit light comes on and tucks it into third gear, but just hits top of fourth gear. Runs fourth gear, doesn't change it, goes all the way onto the dirt now, over the bump into the right-hander. Now back through the left. Oh, that was too close. That was too close. And Charles Wilkin, oh no. Charles Wilkin touches the tires there and jumps back to the pits as Charles Wilkin hits those concrete tires there. And you know when somebody kicks the somebody kicks a tire or something, and that tire is mounted to the ground. That's kind of what these tires are like. They're filled with cement the day of the event, and unfortunately then if you hit them, that's what happens. So unfortunately for Charles Wilkin, we saw there the championship standings up on the board. And where does this put Charles Wilkin now? He's going to start on the back, but that means he goes first. It's only the qualifying at this stage, so not too much to worry about there. Charles Wilkin's got numerous other titles to his name, including real world titles in the rally space, having raced production cars as well as a whole bunch of other sim competitions. Recently won one. So Charles Wilkin's got plenty of titles to his name, but certainly this is one that I know he's been chasing for a while now, having been one of the few competitors to have run all 3 years of the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. Slams on the brakes there, there's Gravenstein. And Gravenstein goes third. Gravenstein goes third. And Gravenstein, unfortunately, not as fast as you would have liked, but we've seen Gravenstein kind of come out of nowhere. And what you also get with these cars is a situation where each car is so different. We just got a message now from Charles Wilkin saying that the tires actually cool down quite quickly on these cars. So Charles Wilkin saying that the tires cool down very quickly in these cars. You can't stay on the start line for too long. Here we go. Peter Geldenes now. We just heard that Koenig was one of the few competitors running a manual clutch and H pattern for the BMW and the Ferrari. Oh no! Peter Geldenes has gone somewhere. Peter Geldenes has gone somewhere. Oh. Peter Geldenes doesn't get a time. I'm looking at the messages here as Peter Geldenes does not get a time that time. Oh my goodness me. That's not good at all. Next up now is Michael Koenig And I'm looking at Peter Galvaniz's stream now to try and see what exactly happened there. As Michael Koenig, oh, brakes ablaze. You can see those brakes just so warm. As Michael Koenig does very well. Michael Koenig looking very good so far. But can he string it together? We saw Galdenays now just having a massive off. But as we mentioned, this is just the practice run. The qualifying heat. Oh, and I just saw the replay of the incident with Galdenays now. We've seen that exact same thing happen before. We've seen cars in real life hit those same tires and go up that same embankment. So no surprises there. Peter Galdenays off the circuit. But solid time there. From De Villiers, Gravenstein and Mashigo. Leon Leroux up now. Peter Galdenays doesn't get a time. Unfortunately, now Leon Leroux bouncing his way through the first turn. Here he comes up the hill, and this, as mentioned, is the qualifying for the main event, which happens next. And this is the third of 4 rounds taking place today to figure out who is the king of the hill. Leon Leroux, very tight there, very close. Let's see what he does. Leon Leroux slams on the brake, stops the car just in time, and gets, third place. Leon Leroux jumps up to third position in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. As Neil Pretorius now lines it up. Neil Pretorius lines it up. Makes his way down the first section. It's a slight downhill as the drivers dip to the left and then down to the right again. After this section, the circuit turns upwards and towards the heavens in a seemingly 45-degree steep angle that, depending on how fast your car is, can take pretty long, but in these GT3s is actually quite short. The next up is the complex section where drivers will have to thread their cars through a very tight section. Oh no! And Neil Pretorius touches the tires there. A big spin from him. Down the side of the hill goes Pretorius. And Pretorius also out of this qualifying section here. So Galdenays and Pretorius with no times to speak of. As it looks like we're waiting for the results of the session. And then we will be back. But that is what it looks like so far after 2 races, folks. Your championship standings so far. Emile de Villiers right at the top with a flawless performance so far. 2 of the 4 races. Charles Wilkin with a 10 and 7 points haul in second position. Jeremy de Villiers gets third place with 8 and 8. Colin Gravenstein does 6 and 10 but matches Jeremy de Villiers in third position. So they are joint third at the moment. Sashaba within striking range in 5th place. Peter Galdenays, Neil Pretorius in 6th, 7th, Leon Leroux and Michael Koenig in 5th place. Michael Koenig, as mentioned earlier on, driving with the H pattern gearbox. You gotta wonder what is better with the older cars. Is it the H pattern? Should you use the paddle shift? Get the clutch to blip properly, sometimes that might be the case, but these guys know best. There's always a fastest way to do things. So, as mentioned, these are some of the best drivers in this space. It's such a tricky format because you've got to be zoned in for those 50 seconds or so. Then it's all over. Then you've got to come back and do it 3 more times. And that's what these drivers are here to do today. That's what these drivers are here to do today. This, the Simola virtual hill climb. this event, of course, in its third running. Peter Galdenes says, tricky one with the Merc. Seshava says the Merc is trolling us. The guys, Peter Galdenes also says that the Merc is so much faster and a lot more grip. And I can imagine, so jumping out of the other cars, it's going to be so tricky. And here you go. Qualifying results now on screen. Emile de Villiers, Jeremy de Villiers in first and second positions. Emile de Villiers securing himself once again at the top spot. Could we see a flawless performance from him if he wins the next one again? Charles Wilkin all the way down the bottom order. Peter Galdenes and Neil Pretorius also not able to get those solid runs in. Michael Koenig now in 6th place. Seshava in 5th. Colin Gravenstein mixing it up with the top 5 once again in 4th position. And Leon Leroux bringing up the top 3. And of course, as mentioned, Team de Villiers in 1st and 2nd with a front row lockout. But what are they going to do next? Going to the third round. Round 3 of 4. Round 3 of 4 in this, the Simola Virtual Hill Climb. My name is Ernest Page, and this is the Simola Virtual Hill Climb powered by Monarch, Neisner Speed Festival. And of course, visit Neisner. If you haven't, you should probably try it. I quite like it there, not gonna lie. It's pretty awesome. Lots of car shows happening, and of course the Simola Hill Climb happening next week. Lots of friends and family going to that one. It's going to be a big one this year. Finally, we start to see some crowds out and about. As we wait for the server to come up once again. And once it does, the next round will be underway. And that round is going to be an insanely difficult one. The speed now so much higher. So much higher for this car compared to what the guys have been driving before. Although the 330 is fast, it's kind of all over the place. Whereas this one over here, not quite as much, a lot more composed. But there's a whole other dynamic of problems that comes with that. Of course, the drivers need to be absolutely precise. The driving style for these GT3s is just a totally different experience, isn't it? You've got to be absolutely precise. You've got to place the car exactly where you want to. These drivers, of course, very good at that. But will it be enough? Drivers now making their way into the pit lane. I can see them entering the paddock area. Looks like we're about to go racing. This will be the first shot, first race in this car today. Previously was qualifying, and now this is for position. So these drivers now have to go for championship points. Colin Gravenstein also commenting that he's on the manual with clutch. It says adds a whole different dynamic to the downshifts. But now they're running paddle shifts, of course, as Charles Wilkin now goes out first in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 after a big off earlier on, going straight into the tires, causing terminal damage on the car. This time taking a shallower line there. Oh, Charles Wilkin looks to be pushing this time. But it's so difficult to tell. If you push too hard, you make a mistake, it's over. The car moves around too much underneath you, it's also over. Charles Wilkin jumps out of the lobby, jumps into the pit lane, gets a 38.7. Gets a 38.7, does Charles. 38.7 does Charles. Charles Wilkin right up there with the big dogs now. So that 38.7 puts him in Emile de Villiers territory. Charles wanting to reclaim that territory, looks like. There he goes. Peter Caldenes. Of course, doing very well over the course of this event, but unfortunately the big off earlier on saw him now at the back. Can he keep it together this time? It doesn't matter how easy the car is to drive on the circuit, when you're trying to push this hard, you end up making the tiniest of mistakes. We see there, oh my goodness me, we saw that there, and that was the tiniest of mistakes from Peter Caldenes. And just losing the back end of the car there ever so slightly makes the correction and pays the price. Peter Caldenes is out of this round. Here comes Neil Pretorius. Neil Pretorius now. Making his way. So far so good. As Neil Pretorius also having an off earlier on. Not taking a time. But all he wants to do now is get a solid time in the AMG GT3. I'm sure he's hoping that this will be a solid performance from him. It's so nerve-wracking once you've done a qualifying run and then made a big mistake and then have to do it again, trying not to make a mistake with this one and done sort of format. Neil Pretorius slams on the brakes, locks it up right at the end, gets a 41.0. Gets a 41.0, does Neil Pretorius. And now we wait for the next couple. Michael Koenig. Michael Koenig up next. Gets a bit of wheel spin there. As we go on board, this is what it looks like. First gear. Nice launch there, bogs it down a little bit there. Up into second gear, up into third now. Tucks it left, tucks it right. Keeps it in third gear over the bump, runs a little bit wide there, but makes a slight correction up the hill. Up to fourth now. 190 kilometers an hour. 200 k's an hour. Fourth gear, will he run the limiter as well? Doesn't get to the limiter. Changes down to third. Michael Koenig now up the hill. Continues up the hill into fourth gear. It's going to be a fast right-hander coming up here. Hold on. Hold your breath. Oh! Downshifts again. I feel like the line was slightly off there. But it's so much easier said than done. Oh! As Koenig makes some adjustments there and gets across the line. Goes to the pits. And then we wait for his time to come up. Koenig gets a 39.9. Koenig with a 39.9. Well done to Michael Koenig. 39.9. Or 39.9, yes. Puts himself in second place. That's Michael Koenig. 39.9 second run. And now, Seshaba. Seshaba once again. Back on the start line. We now go outside once more. And Seshaba Mashigo. Friend of Elric Ensign, watching the stream at the moment. And just got some feedback from Peter Caldenes. He says he lost the back end slightly, and he did. It was really a small movement and corrected it. And then unfortunately speared off the circuit there into the tires. It really takes just one of the tiniest of mistakes. And I tell you what, I can't even glance away from the screen just for a second, because the drivers usually go so close to the tires, but 1 millimeter extra and it's all over as Sashaba crosses the line and gets himself second place, 39.3. Sashaba now much further up the order, and things are looking good for Sashaba. 39.3, a solid time. As here comes Colin Gravenstein. Colin Gravenstein getting a solid time of 39.7 earlier on. He gets a 39.7 now, he goes top 3. But that means he's going to have to get a 39.7. Here we go, Colin Gravenstein up the hill. AMG colors ablaze. Much closer to the outside curve there than some of the other drivers. The line certainly changed since the last time. It's ever so slightly there. I think a lot of the guys went very wide there. This time not so much. As Gravenstein now tucks it in. Keep it so close to these tires, but that's the risk that you take. Such a massive risk that these drivers have to take, staying so close to the tires across the line. Goes Gravenstein. Colin Gravenstein up into third place with a 39.4. Gravenstein gets a 39.4, 3/10 of a second better than his qualifying run earlier on, and puts himself in third position. Koenig now in fourth place. And Colin Gravenstein, gets third as Sashaba Mashigo gets second place. But Leon Leroux is going to have something to say about this. Lots of wheel spin there as he pulls off. As we go on board now with Leon Leroux. Nice relaxed grip on the wheel there. Kind of get the sense that he's done this once or twice before. The Aston Martin that he raced was also front engine in the GT3 category. So Leon Leroux will be sort of used to this. Oh! Leon Leroux with a big slide there, but manages to catch it. And this is what I'm talking about. That slide, as cool as it looked and felt, it's going to cost him some time. These cars are very precise. They don't like any sort of movement like that. You've got to keep them tucked in all the time. Across the line goes Leroux. Leroux gets fourth place with a 39.8. Fourth place with a 39.8. Gravenstein still in the top 3. So Gravenstein still in your top 3 positions. Charles Wilkins still on top. Mashigo still in second place. But this is what your starting order was earlier on. Here comes Jeremy de Villiers now. Jeremy de Villiers, of course, earlier on got second fastest with a 39.0, and now finds himself battling it out with Emile de Villiers, his son, for that top spot. Will there be any love lost between the father-son duo we see here today before us? Jeremy de Villiers not holding back at all, it seems. This is the third and penultimate run for the day. So after this, de Villiers gets very close to the edge of the circuit that you don't want to touch the grass, and jumps back to first place also with a 38.658. 38.658 puts him in first position. This is not looking good for Charles Wilkin then. Charles Wilkin not looking good. He's at least in second place now. But this means for Charles to do well in the championship title, it means that this young man, Emile de Villiers, needs to do not so well at all. And I don't think that's something that he knows. I mean, the pace that he's shown over the last couple of races has been just incredible. He's won both the first 2. And here goes Emile de Villiers once again. So close, so composed, so smooth. Hits the bump but doesn't think anything of it. And here comes Emile de Villiers now up the hill. Emile de Villiers, the winner of the first 2 rounds. This is round 3 or 4 And his turn-in style is so aggressive there. You really see him, a lot of the other guys roll in on the turn-in. Emile de Villiers does not. He kind of just darts the car in. A positive turn-in from him, which is very difficult to do on a circuit like this. And Emile de Villiers is able to dial that in as he goes across the finish line. Emile de Villiers gets across the finish line, but what will the timing board say? He gets first. 38.322. Emile de Villiers gets first place with a 38.322. Unbelievable stuff, and that's his third win of the day. So technically, does this mean that Emile de Villiers is going to win this whole thing? It means he's got 36 points. It means that the next rival will more than likely be his father and Charles Wilkin, with Colin Gravenstein now slipping down a little bit. But Seshaba might switch it up and start to chase down Colin Gravenstein. So battles happening all down the order. But someone that's starting to cement his position is Emile de Villiers. And the only way he can lose this now, I think, is if he does a DNF for the final round. So he just literally has to coast up the hill and try and get some points in the finals. But ladies and gentlemen, Emile de Villiers, I would say there's a new kid on the block, but he's the defending champion. He won the whole thing last year and now finds himself about to win it, on the precipice of winning this thing again for a second time in a row. No one's ever done that with a virtual Simola hill climb. And Emile de Villiers now finds himself in the enviable spot of potentially winning this whole thing again. As we head into the final run, Emile de Villiers finds himself at the top spot. My name is Ernest Page, and this is the Simola Virtual Hill Climb, powered by Monarch. Visit Neisner. If you haven't already, you should probably try that. And then, of course, the Neisner Speed Festival, which takes place next week. And there we go, folks. Emile de Villiers gets his third win of the day. Excuse me. Emile de Villiers gets his third win of the day. Jeremy de Villiers gets his second place finish. And Charles Wilkin brings us home in third position. So close. The top three drivers, you can really see that they are in the class of their own. Sashaba as well to lead the midfield away. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Very close to Sashaba, including 7th in the 39-second range. Sashaba with a 39.315. As we now change things up a little bit, and just like before, the driver's now racing a car that's got the name GT3 in it, but it's not a race car. It's the Porsche 911 GT3, and in my mind, one of the finest cars that I've certainly ever driven. An incredible specimen of a vehicle, something that is able to go mind-bendingly fast for a road car. And here we go, the 911 GT3 now lining up. This, of course, the slightly older spec model. It's just been updated recently, and this is where I give a casual flex if I've driven the recent update. But I haven't actually spent time with this one, but by all accounts, drivers are saying that it is absolutely sensational. We wait for the points to come, but until then, let's watch Jeremy de Villiers head out again. The drivers hardly any chance to compose themselves for the next round, as de Villiers once again has to head out. They haven't even seen the points yet, but I'm sure they've got points calculators on their side. I would do that if I was them. Calculate the points quickly. We're waiting for our points calculation to come online, and it should be here shortly as Jeremy de Villiers makes his way up for the qualifying run. And these cars, of course, boasting serious pace, but without the downforce and the grip of the GT3 race car. So we're definitely going to see this car doing well, but how well, well, that's to be seen. Oh no! Into the finish line goes de Villiers. Jeremy de Villiers crashes on the finish line, and that is a 42.4, but in previous years, that time would not have counted. So we're going to wait and see what the rules say about that one. And there are your points. Emile de Villiers separates himself from the pack with a 36-point total. Second place, Jeremy de Villiers, 26 points. And Charles Wilkin in third place. Here comes Emile now. Emile de Villiers in the Porsche. No mistakes from him. We've not seen one mistake from him. Oh my goodness. And just as I say that, I think he actually touched the tires there. That's as close as you're going to get to those tires without a catastrophic mistake. And how is he able to find the limits of these cars so quickly, one after the next? It's such a difficult discipline to master because you've got to get out of one car and into the next immediately. Emile de Villiers, a flawless performance from him so far. And even with that mistake in the beginning, let's see how he does. Gets a 41.9. Even with that mistake in the beginning, still goes fastest. Still goes fastest. And Emile de Villiers finds himself once again at the top of the standings. We know that Jeremy de Villiers is not going to be slow. Here comes Charles Wilkin now. We know that Jeremy de Villiers is not going to be slow. So if Emile is already half a second ahead, as we go on board with Charles Wilkin, and I gotta say that's exactly what the inside of a 911 looks like. That center mounted rev counter, all the necessary displays at your fingertips within eyesight. The ergonomics in this car are just fantastic. You don't have to take your hands off the wheel for anything. Kind of just enjoy that PDK gearbox. As Charles Wilkin lines up the next corner, and look at that line that he takes there. Very interesting. Lets the car run straight and now tucks it in. Oof! Charles Wilkin running very close to the tires there. I think he had to back out a little bit because that was going towards the tires. Charles Wilkin now gets across the line. Oh no! Charles Wilkin sandbags it. Sandbags it. Charles Wilkin breaks early and sandbags across the finish line. He clearly likes to go earlier on. Got some shout outs here. Peter Galdenes says, great job guys, good going. He says the Porsche is very tricky and needs a nice balance. Wonder says, come on Seshaba. Seshaba with his support team. As we go on board now with Seshaba. Go to 100 there, coming up real quick. And now Seshaba tucks it in. Oh no! Seshaba running wide there, and that's the thing with these Porsches. Oh, he's got terminal damage. He's trying to continue. He's trying to continue, but thinks better of it. And he's got with terminal damage there. Let's take it into the pits for repairs. So Shaba has to continue. Tries to continue, but unfortunately not able to do so. Colin Gravenstein now lines us up. This is the final run, folks. They've got the finals after this. This will be the final qualifying. So the final round with the Porsche. And this is just qualifying for now. But you can see once they hit the bump, they get massive understeer there. And with these Porsches, you've got to get back on the power to get rid of that understeer. It's very counterintuitive, but the car understeers a little bit when you're off the power, just like that. As Colin Gravenstein demonstrates exactly what I'm talking about. And there goes Colin now, understeering his way up the track. Does look like the nose in this car is pushing quite a bit. And across the line he goes. Gravenstein gets it. So far the Villiers in first place. Wilkin in third. Gravenstein now takes third from Wilkin. But Wilkin, remember, slowed down quite a bit at the end there. Here comes Leon Leroux. Oh, I do love this Porsche in this color. See lots of them floating around in this purple hue. Oh, big sideways moment there for Leon Leroux. Leon Leroux keeps it off the tires. Keeps it off the tire wall. Does Leon Leroux, but Any mistake at the bottom of the hill is going to be a big mistake. And that's what Leon Leroux has learned now the hard way. Leon Leroux has learned that the hard way. Any mistakes at the bottom of the hill is going to cost you big time. But as mentioned, this is only the qualifying run. They will still do a fast run after this. That is where it all is going to count. But so far, De Villiers looking to defend his title successfully with 36 points in the bag. As Geldenhuys now lines it up. Let's see what Geldenhuys can do. The times of the Porsche not bad at all, 41 seconds. Not bad at all for a standard production road car. With road tires as well. I mean, can you believe that? Just look at the understeer though. The car doesn't like certain corners, especially if you take it in certain ways. You kind of got to figure out how to drive. This car looks like it. Get that weight shifted onto the nose. As you can see, he did it there. Peter Geldenhuys did it there very nicely. Get the car to rotate a little bit. Shoo. And let's see what the times say though. Let's see what the times say. Geldenhuys goes fourth. 43.5 for Geldenhuys. 43.5. .5 seconds there for Geldenhuys. As the last runners make their way through, we got Michael Koenig. As mentioned, this is now the last few runners in this first qualifying session. The next session will be the final session of the day, where the drivers will go up the hill for the last time. Up the hill he goes. Koenig now. Up to fifth gear, 200 plus k's an hour. Oops, overcorrection there from Koenig, and that's going to cost him. Oh no, into the tires goes Koenig. That overcorrection there cost him big time. Overcorrected, lost it again. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was sitting passenger in a very fast Porsche once upon a time, and that exact same thing happened. And I tell you what, it's not easy to catch these cars when they do step out like that. The rear engine just hangs so far off the back that when they do get sideways, it can get a bit sticky. So Koenig unfortunately getting caught out there, as now Pretorius makes his way out. Pretorius very slick and smooth. Pretorius very slick and smooth here. Pretorius not having seeded is the wild card entrant here today. Oh, that's the slide we saw earlier on. Catches it though. But you can't slide these cars so much with it because it's uphill. As soon as you slide, if you slide a car downhill, it's kind of okay-ish because you continue with your momentum. But if you slide a car in an uphill section, it takes away all the speed. Oh my goodness, he's out of line, he's offline. Oh, he was offline there and he lost the sync with the road. And that's what happens. You kind of lose sync with the way the flow of the road goes, as Pretorius gets a 44.692. And that is the problem that many of these guys are finding here, is that they are struggling with front grip on these cars. So you saw that early on, and that's going to be the issue that the drivers go into the next round with. My name is Ernest Page, and this is the virtual Simola Hill Climb. And we are about to head into the finals now. The final round of the finals. And this is where everything comes together for these drivers. They're going to try and make it count now. They're going to try and make it count. As this will be their only chance to try and recoup some points from the hard-charging Emile de Villiers. Emile de Villiers having won 3 of the 4 races so far. With only 1 left to go, Charles Wilkin needs a catastrophic mistake from Emile to be able to stand a chance, and so does Senior. But I'm pretty sure that Senior doesn't really care too much. He wants to make sure that Junior does well. So maybe some team orders afoot there, but I wouldn't be too mad at that. I wouldn't be too mad at that at all. As we wait for the first of the runners. Wait for the first of the runners to make their way through. And here we go. We're almost there, folks. Almost there for the finals of the virtual Simola Hill Climb. This is the final running, the final event, the final heat. And the winner of this will decide who is the king of the hill. We're waiting for those championship results as well. They should be here somewhere. And we just got confirmation that those championship results are up. And the results from the previous round as well. Jeremy de Villiers gets first for qualifying. Emile de Villiers gets second. Colin Gravenstein gets third. So a very interesting turn of events here going into the final round. I think there's been a mistake with those results. Just waiting for the official results. I've got a WhatsApp text here, but that didn't seem to be the official one. Wonder goes once again. Come on, Seshaba. And send some flames. And this is Seshaba now. Seshaba going out first. This is his final round of the 2022 Simola Virtual Hill Climb. He's doing himself and his team proud so far. Fantastic performance. Let's bring it home, Seshaba. A fantastic performance from him so far. And up the hill he goes. Seshaba so far keeping it together in a car that is very difficult to do so with. And I think at this stage, any sort of success is welcome in this car. Very tricky to navigate the circuit with this car. And Seshaba does so in 43.4 seconds. That would put him in 3rd position, or just about, just below 3rd place. And Seshaba doing well there to finish off the day on a high. It's always good to finish off these sort of days without having made a big mistake in the finals. So Seshaba will be quite happy with that, I'm sure. Knowing that at least he brought the car home safely and having learned from this experience, I'm sure. Here comes Michael Koenig now. Through the first sector. Getting a little bit wider there. I think the guys are at least tighter. I think the guys are maybe going to want to take it a bit more easy now. These cars do seem to be very skittish. This car seems to be very skittish up here. So Michael Koenig now nursing the car all the way up, tucking the nose in there. You can see him shifting the weight forward on this car. Maybe a little bit of left foot braking might be one of the solutions. Michael Koenig with some single-seater background, so you should be able to do that. But Michael Koenig crosses the lines. Schauber at the moment currently in first place. Koenig now, as he exits pit lane, gets second place with 44.3. Koenig gets second place with 44.3. Here comes Neil Pretorius now. Neil Pretorius. Looking very good out there in the previous rounds. Let's see how he does this time in the Porsche. Neil Pretorius out on circuit at the moment. Up the hill he goes. Bit of a slow line here. I think the drivers are taking it easy. That is one of the dangerous sections on the circuit. But there's still lots of space to play with. I think as Pretorius makes his way through the final section, a bit of a safe run looks like it. Don't think he's pushing too hard at this stage. And this, of course, the finals, folks. The final few runs. This is for position. Pretorius takes top spot. Pretorius takes the top spot with what looked like a relatively safe run. So Pretorius leading us off for the moment.
Okay, Leon, you cleared the lineup.
As you can see the qualifying results there. Pretorius improving big time on his time there. At a 44.6 earlier now, does a 43. And next up will be Leon Leroux.
You are clear
with
to start.
a 43.8 earlier on. He needs to beat his time to get a top provisional spot at the moment. Man, that dip is... They're going to have to retard that dip there at some stage because, man, the cars are hitting that dip hard over there. Here comes Leon Leroux up the hill. The final runners now making their way through. This is the 2022 Simola Virtual Hill Climb. And this is the final heat of the final round of the 2022 Simola Virtual Hill Climb. And only one winner can be crowned King of the Hill. And who will that king be? Here comes Leon Leroux. Statistically, is fighting for position further down the field. But all of these drivers want to finish as strongly as possible. Leon Leroux goes up top at the moment. Leon Leroux takes it to the top of the standings at the moment.
Okay, Charles, you can line up.
Leon Leroux takes the top of the standings at the moment. That front-engined experience paying off. And here comes the next driver now, and there you can see the qualifying results. Leon Leroux improving by half a second on his 43.8. Here comes Charles Wilkin now, and this is it, folks. Charles Wilkin sandbagged early on as he crossed the finish line. He's going to want to usurp numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Leroux, Pretorius, Mashigo, and Koenig all now ahead of him at the moment. All now ahead of him at the moment so far. So Charles Wilkin currently in third place in the championship standings. He's got 25 points, 11 points behind Emile de Villiers. He has to win this, and Emile has to be absolutely dead last. So here comes Charles Wilkin now on the absolute limit, on the ragged edges. Charles Wilkin coasts over the grass there and comes to a halt. Charles Wilkin now will go into the pits and gets first place with a 42.282. A 42.282 for Charles Wilkin. A fantastic time there from him. And now we see Charles with enough points to win. But that means that the two drivers ahead of him, both Emile and Jeremy, have to bin it completely in order for him to stand a chance. Peter Gelderne is down in 6th place. He's going to want to beat Sashaba.
You can start.
Peter Gelderne with 13 points. His best points hold 6th place. That's 5th place. Oh, Peter Gelderne is on the limit there. So anywhere higher than 5th place for him would be a massive bonus at this stage. Oh no! Oh no! Galdenes runs wide! Galdenes runs wide! He checks the car to make sure it's okay. Just a cracked windscreen by the looks of it, pulling wide a little bit. And Galdenes unfortunately makes a very, very big mistake. And another one. Oh! He does take it across the finish line though. He does take it across the finish line, and for that deserves the respect. Across the line goes Galdenes. And that's what it's all about. Get that car home at all costs. Galdenes brings it over the line. Anything can happen. Galdenes now at least gets a time of 46.5.
Okay, Colin, you can run up.
46.5 for Pieter Galdenes. As here comes Colin Gravenstein. Colin Gravenstein suddenly finding himself in the mix right behind Charles Wilkin. So Colin Gravenstein in a solid 4th position, fighting off Seshaba. So Colin has to beat Seshaba on this round. Ideally, if he wants to stay in 4th place, and he has to beat Charles Wilkin. Ideally, if he wants to try and get there. But Charles now currently in 1st place. As Colin runs wide there, I don't think that's going to be enough to get Charles, but can he get Seshaba? Seshaba watching on, I'm sure. Seshaba wants to know that he can beat Colin Gravenstein. As Colin makes his way through, holding on to this car a little bit by the looks of things. And here comes Colin across the line. Oh, so close to the edge of the circuit there. Colin Gravenstein gets 2nd place ahead of Seshaba. Gets 2nd place ahead of Seshaba. Only 0.2 of a second in it though. So this could upset the apple cart quite a bit. Colin Gravenstein, 3 points ahead of Seshaba, maintains his 4th place position. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it all comes down. Currently, Jeremy de Villiers in 2nd place in the championship standings, ahead of Charles Wilkin. If he gets ahead of Charles Wilkin now, he stays there. Charles will be going for the 2nd place. There's 1 point in it. There's 1 point in it, absolutely, as Jeremy de Villiers makes his way down. Charles Wilkin is watching on nervously, I'm sure. Jeremy de Villiers not pushing as hard as Charles early on. He's got to finish this lap, but a solid line there just makes a small adjustment. A solid line there. As he comes across the finish line now, how's he going to do? Jeremy de Villiers goes 2nd. Goes 2nd behind Charles, and that could see Charles Wilkin pipping Jeremy across the finish line for the 2nd place in the championship. That's going to be so close now. I do think Charles Wilkin might have done enough, because Emil is going to have something to say about this in a moment. So Emil is going to have something to say about that in a moment. And that moment is now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final run for the King of the Hill. Emil de Villiers, the young Cape, the South African, just 14 years old at the moment, shifts up another gear, doesn't even have a driver's license yet, very close to the curb there, Emil. He pushes through the understeer in this car in a very interesting way, understands that there's going to be understeer and lets the understeer settle in the front of the car. Not an easy thing to do. You got to trust the chassis and watch it come back, and makes the correction there. Very slight correction from Emil de Villiers. Hasn't set the foot wrong so far in any of the rounds. And how's this one going to be any different? Emil de Villiers gets it sideways there. He's pushing very hard. Oh my goodness me. Pushes very hard through the complex section out to the top of the hill. He's going to cross the line. So close to the edge. So close, Emil de Villiers. Emil de Villiers gets first once again. Gets first once again. 222, the lucky number for Emil. 42.222 for Emil de Villiers, just ahead of Charles Wilkin with a 42.282. There was nothing in it, folks. But it does look like, bar any sort of issues, Emile de Villiers takes a clean sweep of this event, something we almost saw Charles Wilkin do a few years ago. And now Emile de Villiers finds himself at the top spot, the second-time champion. The results aren't official yet, but we wait for those official results. Emile de Villiers could be the two-time champion of the virtual Simola hill climb, something that's never been done before, came back to defend it, and somehow manages to pull it off. Emile de Villiers. Sure. Peter Geldenay says, not his day for the hill climb, and lots of understeer. Megan Woodward says, go Colin. Colin certainly did, puts himself in 4th place for this round. Colin Gravenstein maintains what looks like 4th place, knocking down some very familiar names further down in the championship. But it was one man that stood atop, one man that conquered, and one man that had an absolutely flawless performance. And that young man is Emile de Villiers, the 14-year-old son of Jeremy de Villiers. They just started sim racing last year for this event, and he's very new to the sim racing scene, at least at a high level, and now finds himself the two-time champion of the virtual Simola hill climb. We're going to be setting up some interviews soon with these drivers, but there you have it, folks. That's how this cookie crumbled, as Jeremy and Emile de Villiers put themselves once again near the top. First and second place in first and third place potentially in the championships, with Charles Wilkin right in between them. And this of 42.222, 6/100th of a second ahead of Charles Wilkin. Jeremy de Villiers right behind that, all top 3 in the 42-second range. And that's been the story of today, really, that the top 3 guys have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Emile, Charles, and Jeremy. Colin Gravenstein, though, doing well to knock on that door over and over and secure another 4th place. Leon Leroux does very well there to get himself 5th place, 6 points for his troubles. And Neil Pretorius, Sashaba Mashigo, Michael Koenig, and Peter Calderes, the rest of our competitors, who should all be very proud of their performances today. This competition format is so difficult, man. It's so difficult. You got to zone in and be perfect for the entire day. And that's kind of exactly what Emile did. He hasn't put a foot wrong at all. Some close calls here and there, but that's the name of the game. And he hasn't made any mistakes when it comes to the big mistakes that many of the drivers get caught out with. I'd love to ask him why that's the case. Is he just not fazed by the pressure? Does he not feel this as pressure? And if that's the case, I mean, that's a good disposition to have when it comes to motorsport, that's for sure. You can't be cracking under the pressure. As we wait for the drivers to join us for their interviews. We've got a couple of drivers joining us for interviews very shortly. And this, of course, will be our podium, where we talk to the drivers and ask them what their experience was like. You guys have heard from me, but I'd love to hear what the drivers' experience is like so far in the day. And there you have it, folks. That is the championship standings on screen at the moment. Race 1, 2, 3, and 4 all going to Emile de Villiers. Charles Wilkin managing to net 2 second places there. Jeremy de Villiers, Mr. Consistency, gets 8 points all around except for one tenner. And Colin Gravenstein will be happy with that 10 points all in race number 2. And consistently placing after that. Sashaba just getting popped, and Sashaba in the mix. You look at the points. Sashaba is right there with the solid, with the Charles, Jeremy, and Colin. So Sashaba really is one of those guys that we need to look out for in future, because I think he's going to be much closer to the front of the field as the years go by. Leon Leroux doing very well there in 6th place. Peter Geldenes, Neil Pretorius, and Michael Koenig with some issues there, bringing up the top spot. Michael Koenig, I'd love to talk to him as well at some stage offline, maybe. Find out how his day went, because I know he should be further up in that order based on his previous performances at the same event. Here we go. Looks like we've got someone in the room with us, and this someone is Jeremy de Villiers. Jeremy de Villiers, are you with us?
Hi, Ernest. I think I am.
Oh, there we go. There he is. There he is. Let's start with our conversation last year. It was exactly a year ago. We sent each other some messages. You were very forthcoming with your guys' plans and strategies, and you told me that we're just kind of trying the sim racing thing out. A lot has happened since then, hasn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, we did the first one last year, and that was a new experience. Then we did the one in September, and that's really the one that opened our eyes and made us take this sim racing seriously.
Yeah. And you certainly have. And now you guys are the defending champions coming into this. Your son now, bar some catastrophic protests, your son could be the champion. But what's the vibe in the household at the moment? You coming in 3rd position, 2 of the same clan on the podium. It's not often this is seen in motorsport.
Look, it's a healthy competition. I'm not always that impressed that he's done so much faster than me, but especially on a one-lap single run up this crazy hill, his feel for the car is just incredible. So it's difficult to match him on a one-lap.
Yeah, but you must be so proud on so many levels. Proud of yourself, proud of the family, proud of your performances. I mean, you guys must be buzzing in the household at the moment.
Very much so. The energy levels are high. I'm very proud of him, and it's a fun thing to do with him. So yes, we're having a lot of fun doing this.
Jeremy, you managed to score 8 points for 3 of the rounds and 10 for round 3. Mr. Consistency today. Didn't put many feet wrong here and there, a couple of slips and slides on the car, but that's all normal. We're on the limit here. But your team, clearly a very consistent team.
Look, the format of this competition makes it so hard, because you've got to decide how much risk you want to take.
Yes.
And then either go for it or play it safe.
Exactly.
I knew Emile was going for it, so I thought, let me play it safe.
And that's exactly the thing, isn't it? I mean, that's the decision that you've got to make moment to moment. And it shows with you guys. You guys obviously have such a fantastic temperament as a family, as a team. And to see 2 teams on the podium like this, it's just incredible, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks to the organizers and everyone involved. It was superb to participate.
Yeah, it was great to watch. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your 3rd place winner, Jeremy de Villiers Sr. And unbelievable performance from him. He's been a sim racing, but not that competitively, not for that long. And here, though, still finds himself on the top 3. Now we got a legend of South African motorsport coming up next, and someone that's won championships in multiple disciplines, having won with other sim racing competitions, having found success in 80K and Monarch sim racing competitions, and then of course in the world of rally and motorsport as well. That is none other than Charles Wilkin. Charles Wilkin in the virtual commentary booth with me today. Charles, how was your day today?
Yeah, it was fun like usual. A lot of stress. But yeah, it's a fun event, and thanks again to the organizers for organizing it.
I can't believe that the gap between you and Emil is so big with age, and yet you are still here showing the young boys how it's done. I mean, you've been doing this for how many years now, Charles?
Yeah, quite a few years, but it seems the older you get, the harder it becomes to deal with the pressure.
I think I find myself there as well. That's why I try to stay away from these kind of competitions. But you don't seem to stay away. You're still very competitive, still ultra fast. I mean, what do you think was the most difficult car for you to drive today?
Yeah, look, I didn't quite spend enough time practicing for this event. But the Ferrari was tough. But each car is so different in its own way. They all drive differently, all four of them. So it makes it hard, and also just having one run is exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, I remember seeing your camera the last time, the pressure just absolutely on your face. And this is such a high pressure cooker situation. The fact that you consistently manage to be at the front of the pack is just amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, maybe a bit of luck. I don't know.
Nah, I think if you're there once or twice, maybe. But as I said, consistently fast. You won so many accolades over the year. Unfortunately, this time just missing out. There were tenths, hundredths of a second in it next time. I'm pretty sure you're gonna want to be back and try and do this again.
Yeah, for sure. I'll always be back, and let's see if we can pull it through sometime soon.
I hope so. I'll be rooting for you next time, Charles. Thanks so much for your performance today. It's always a pleasure seeing you taking part.
Thanks a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was your second place winner, Charles Wilkins. So close to the throne, just managing to hold off Jeremy de Villiers there with 34 points right behind him. But there is one young man that has gone all the way to the top of the standings, and for the second time in a row finds himself in the championship position. He's won it before. He's the defending champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Emil de Villiers is back with another win. Well, that was the anticlimactic. Emil de Villiers, are you with me?
Oh, yes, I am.
That was your turn to talk. I tried to build you up there. Let me try that again. I'm gonna try and build you up. Let me try one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, the champion, the defending champion, ladies and gentlemen, Emil de Villiers.
Hello.
Hey, how does it feel, bro? How does it feel?
It feels great, really. I'm mostly feeling relieved because the pressure is off my shoulders, and yeah, just out of breath, really.
Sure. That must be insane pressure. But what does, I mean, you now can take that breather, but I see you've got the mentality of someone that doesn't take a breather during. You're able to maintain your composure. You held it together the entire time.
Yeah, I know if I had to go through all the pressure, otherwise I wouldn't perform, so I just had to stick through it, and yeah.
How old are you now, Emil, exactly?
I am 14.
Oh my goodness me. And still getting better. How is the since the first time you competed in this event, do you think Emil from today beats Emil from that first event?
Oh yes, 100%, yeah.
That's not good news for your competitors, eh? Because if you're still improving, I think we're going to see an even better Emil back next year. Do you intend to come defend your title again?
Oh, of course. If the opportunity is there, then of course I have to. So yeah.
So a full points haul, race 1 through 4. You won every single race. What was the plan coming into this? Did you think you had the pace to take this?
I had a feeling I could, but I wasn't 100% sure because I didn't know the pressure was going to be this high.
What do you mean? Tell me about that. Tell me about that pressure. What does that mean, that the pressure's high?
I don't know, because of the format, you only have one chance to do your run. If you mess that up, then you're basically out of contention for the title. So yeah,
I mean, going into the last race, if you got a DNF on that final race, you could have still lost this whole thing.
Yeah, the last run was probably the most stressful one.
Yet you still managed to go so close to the tires. We saw that, by the way. We saw that. We saw all those. We were on board with you on the final run, and I think I was biting my nails that entire time. It was nerve-wracking, especially in the Porsche. The Porsche is the kind of car that you can lose it in.
Yeah, the suspension and being really stiff. The car's really bumpy. almost unpredictable. It's sometimes, yeah, it's not an easy thing to drive.
So what are your future motorsport plans going forward?
I mean, to just participate in as much things as I can, and to just kind of put my name on the board, and yeah.
I think your name is firmly on the board. In fact, your name's going to go down in the Hall of Fame for this event because you're the only one to ever defend it so far. And I think these kind of events are very difficult to defend. So I don't think we'll be seeing many people, even in the next 5-10 years of this running, that will be on there twice. So Emile de Villiers, congratulations. You are the Simola Virtual Hill Climb Champion. You are the 2-time Simola Virtual Hill Climb Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Emile de Villiers. Yes, man. Unbelievable stuff. Well done, my friend. Well done. Well, folks, there you have it. Emile de Villiers can barely contain himself. He's at the top spot. He is the winner of this Simola Virtual Hill Climb. My name is Ernest Page, and this event is powered by Monarch and Knysna Speed Festival. And of course, visit Knysna because it's nice to visit. Unbelievable turn of events today. The Simola Virtual Hill Climb was a big success, and you could see there that there is a new talent that has come to bear. His name is Emile de Villiers, and joined on the podium by his father, no less, and of course, the ever-present, ever-fast Charles Wilkin in the mix as well. Notable names, some guy you might have heard of, Seshaba. Remember that name. You're going to see him in the future soon. And the rest of the drivers, well done for trying to qualify. And for those that competed, you guys did a fantastic job of doing so. Well, folks, this is it from myself, Ernest Page, and the rest of the Monarch team. It's been a sensational day, and we appreciate your support. Please feel free to comment in the comments section and let us know what you thought of this year's Simola Virtual Hill Climb, and if you are going to be entering next year as well. Until then, we'll see you then.